Hello and welcome to the Watering Hole. Thanks for checking out this clip. Don't forget to like and subscribe because that'll make the baby Jesus cry, and I know how much you guys love making the baby Jesus cry. Anyway, since I'm wearing a silly hat, let's get on to a silly person. Kevin Sorbo.
Oh my god.
So he retweeted a guy who said, "Who the fuck would vote for Donald Trump as a Canadian? I seriously do not understand this." Kevin Sorbo says, "You're Canadian, who cares? You don't have any rights, so you wouldn't understand why we want to keep ours."
So Casey retweeted this tweet from Kevin Sorbo, and she got so much shit from it. People were pedantically arguing with her about bullshit.
I don't understand. Like, people get so... Like, American exceptionalism is this weird thing. It's like, we're the best. Like, we're the only free country on the planet. Like, no, you're fucking not. Canadians have rights. And like, okay, first off, let's just take what he's saying here at face value. You don't have any rights, so you don't understand why we want to keep ours. How did the Revolutionary War happen if people that don't have rights don't understand why people would want to keep rights? Like, that was people who didn't have rights fighting for their rights. I mean, like, it was the right to be represented before getting a 2-cent tax. But still, they wanted rights.
Right.
And Britain was like, no, fuck you. And they were like, no, fuck you harder. And they won that one. But, like, why do you think that people that don't have rights, like, even if it's true that Canadians don't have rights, why would you think that would make us incapable of understanding why someone would want rights? Would that not make us even more capable of understanding that? Like, oh, you need to understand how important your rights are because I don't have that in Canada, so you need to really protect that. I wish I could be like you guys in the States with all your rights. Like, would that not be what actually happened there?
Right. And I'm wondering what rights Donald Trump is protecting exactly. Like,
he's not. He's flat out saying, I'm going to be a fascist dictator.
Yeah.
Like,
and I mean, at least one other Republican candidate is like, oh, full on fascism. I'm right there. That would be DeSantis. Like, he's full on fascist. Like, he's even more fascist than Trump, I believe.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just so ridiculous to think like, well, I have rights. It's what I think it is maybe is that Donald Trump always plays that I'm proud to be an American. Yeah. Well, where at least I know I'm free. It's like, what the fuck is that lyric?
On last week's stream, we covered a story where, like, there was the Trump bucks thing where all these scam companies are popping up where they're selling people Trump bucks and saying you could, like, if you buy Trump bucks from us, then you can go to the bank in like 3 weeks and redeem it for like 10,000 times what you paid us for it. And it's a complete scam, but like every single one of these companies has Patriot in the name because real patriots support Donald Trump. Superfluous fun with anal glands says 2 cents in 1776 equals 2 million in 2024. Yeah, that might have something to do with it. Yeah, but like, aside from that, like, Canada has this thing called the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which like lays out what rights we have that are protected and what freedoms we have that are protected. Kind of like y'all's Bill of Rights in the Constitution. And it's got a lot of the same ones in there. Doesn't have the Second Amendment, though, so it's not real freedom. Never mind that, like, you can still get a gun in Canada. It's just a little bit harder. I don't know. K-Sorbs is an idiot.
K-Sorbs is a dipshit for sure.
Yeah. No, like, we have fucking rights. Like, I can, like, the fucking Freedom Convoy or whatever, they still assemble every now and then. Like, their numbers get smaller and more pathetic every time they do. But like every now and then you still see like a bunch of idiots get together and be like, fuck Justin Trudeau. Like, there's a house not far away from mine that flies, like, they used to fly the Canadian flag, but since the Freedom Convoy thing started, they fly a fuck Trudeau flag. They're flying profanity in public for kids to see. And they're allowed to do it because they have the freedom of, like, Canada has the equivalent of your First Amendment. And thank you, Jassa. Jassa's like 1 cent in 1776 is 35 cents in 20. We know that was the $2 million thing was a joke. But thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being technically correct. I do appreciate that, because like I definitely had to resist the urge to Google that myself. But like, yeah, no, we have the freedom to protest the government. We can, like, I can say Trudeau's an asshole for being in blackface, and that's fine. I'm not going to get arrested for that. And like, you can protest in Canada all you want. We have a lot of the same rights that you guys have. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lobo says, you've got to appreciate the irony of climate protesters trudging through a foot of snow and negative 30-degree wind chills to yell about how the planet is warming. They just don't see it, do they? So does anyone want to explain to Lobo the difference between climate and weather?
I don't think that she would understand the difference between climate and weather. Like, I really think that she could look at the definitions.
No.
You know, we'd have to smuggle her a fucking dictionary, right? But she can look at the definitions.
She's not in Florida, though, so she's allowed to have a dictionary. Yeah, no, so like, this is one of those things that I don't get. It's so fucking dumb, because like, they haven't finalized the numbers for 2023 yet. So as of 2022, 9 of the 10 hottest years ever recorded in human history were in the last 10 years. And the 10th one was 2010, so it's not far away from us. And 2023 is expected to be the hottest year on record, so that'll bump 2010 off the bottom spot, and now the last 10 years will all be the 10 hottest years on record. You can't tell me there's no global warming if the last 10 years are all the 10 hottest years on record, with a trend of the more recent years being the hotter ones.
Yeah.
And like, I remember in Canada, I'm a Canadian. Growing up, we had to plan our Halloween costumes around fitting them over top of our snowsuits. Today, it's usually pretty warm on Halloween. We just need to like plan them around the rain that's going to happen. But we used to get snow on Halloween regularly when I was a kid growing up. Now we get rain. We might get one snow before Christmas, and then usually the snow doesn't settle in until like late January. Like we only just now got our first like real snow of the season. That seems like it's going to stick around and make it winter. But like normally that would happen in like November.
Yeah, we actually got snow. I say that like that because it's actually snow and ice, and it was only snow, like the portions that were snow was only snow for like maybe a day, and then like it would get heated up by the sun and then quickly turned back into ice, or turned into ice. So now like our roads are fucked, and like our state's not doing anything, or our county,
so
city.
Fennec is asking what state you're in.
No, I'm in Alabama. So, you know, even the threat of like a dusting shuts down the entire fucking state.
I remember that there was one time I drove to Florida that on the way back, there was like a snowstorm that was like following us north, but it was like one of those unprecedented ones that like brought like 1 centimeter of snow to states that just aren't used to any snow. So like everything was being shut down, and we're like, we have to keep ahead of the storm because like we're Canadians, we can drive through that shit, but like I don't want to get stuck by closed roads. Adam Broughton says 2023 is the first year I remember Rideau Canal not opening. So 2022 was actually the first time, I think it was the first time for all of my kids that we had a white Christmas. Like a white Christmas was a fairly normal occurrence when I was a kid, but like that massive snowstorm that killed our power for 3 days actually was their first white Christmas. And it's the only one they've had so far. Like
so I mean, I remember as a kid, even here in North Alabama, like every winter there would be like a snow. Maybe not to the point where shit would get shut down, but like I remember several winters like where there was like snow was a regular thing. Like I remember my family they would make snow cream where you would take snow, like it would actually snow hard enough so that you could actually scrape off the top layer and then get some snow to actually make snow cream with, and they'd make snow cream. But like for the longest time of my adult life, like it just hasn't been like that at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Superfluous fun with anal gland says, "Go big or go home, Rhino." With the snow. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was. It was because like it and climate change, like yes, the average global temperature is heating up, but that leads to more extreme weather events, including cold ones. Like this is another polar vortex year where the polar vortex is destabilized. So a lot of that frigid Arctic air, because of the warming, the polar vortex can't contain it anymore. And so it's allowing this really cold Arctic air further south, which seems paradoxical, but like the warming actually makes it colder for the northern hemisphere because the jet stream is not as stable.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, Lobo can't understand that because like she's only capable of understanding things that can like be equated to blowjobs in a theater. No, sorry. Hand job. Sorry, it was a hand job. That was a bit far. It was a hand job. It was an over the pants hand job. His dick never came out.
No.
But that's the party of family values, y'all.
It definitely is.
Yeah. Another Lobo says, "It's been Trump since 2016 for me, and it's going to stay that way. Trump 2024 today, tomorrow, and every day after that." She doesn't know how the time dimension works. It's like, will it still be Trump 2024 in 2025? Like, even if he wins, it's no longer Trump 2024.
There's no way that she could mean something along the lines, and I've heard conservatives say this before. There's no way that she could mean like sort of like a Trump dictatorship that extends past like the 4-year term. Do you think that maybe that could be behind this?
Maybe. I could see her wanting that. It's like if she has to if her and Marjorie Taylor Greene have to continue to rely on winning elections, that's not going to sustain them for very well. Maybe MTG, like Lobo had to actually like change districts in order to like make it more likely that she's going to win. MTG is in a pretty solid red district where like as the incumbent, she can basically do whatever the fuck she wants. But yeah, no, this sounds like this does sound like a call for a Trump dictatorship. Like if he wins in 2024, is she still going to call for Trump every day after that, even after his term is over? Probably, because they fucking lick every area of his cock and balls in desperation for him to show them even like the slightest bit of admiration.
Was it Lobo or Marjorie Taylor Greene that had the cutout of Trump where she rubbed his dick area?
I want to say that was Marjorie.
Who was it, hon? Yeah, you both said Marjorie Taylor Greene, so I'm guessing it's Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, Lobo rubs the dicks of real guys on camera. Marjorie Taylor Greene just rubs the cardboard cutout dicks.
And then fucks her personal trainer, right?
Yeah, let's not even get into that. Oh, Frank Turek. So Frank Turek is actually scattered kind of randomly throughout this thing. I don't know how it decided to put him like that when I labeled it all alphabetically, but that's where we are. He says, "The difficulty we experience in this world gives us an opportunity to enhance our capacity to enjoy God later." How does that work for people that go to hell, Frank? It's like, seriously, in his worldview, my wife is currently in hell, being tortured forever. Now, best case scenario here from the Christian worldview is that happened so that I will come back to God. So does that mean that my soul is worth more than hers was? Am I more important than she was?
Well,
Is that what he's saying?
I mean, it seems like, yeah. I mean, obviously that's what it seems like, but I guess I'm a pretty big stickler for like trying to understand the actual mechanics of stuff like this, because like I don't understand how this actually works. Like the difficulty that we experience in this world gives us an opportunity to enhance our capacity to enjoy God later. How does us like having difficulty enhance our capacity
Well, it's like
to appreciate God?
it's like the bad times make the good times better, I guess.
I mean, sometimes the bad times are bad enough to where
Yeah.
it sucks the good times out. I mean, I've been in that situation before, and
So
I just I don't understand. I guess I just don't understand like how this actually connects like practically in reality. I mean, I get what he's trying to communicate here, but ever since I left the faith, one of the things that I did while I was in the faith was just, somebody tells me some bullshit like this, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I get that. But since I've left the faith, I'm like, wait a second, how does that actually work? Like, I don't understand, because God would be the one putting us through the difficulty.
So I think Stoff in my Twitch chat has it solved. It's
Okay.
Anal training for God.
Oh my God, good
So
Lord.
it's like stretching. The more you stretch, the less pain it is to stretch again.
That's why God has you go face down, ass up when you pray to him.
There you go. So Stoff solved it. Thank you, Stoff. Alan Tudyk. I fucking love Alan Tudyk. He's amazing. So Biden Harris HQ on Threads posted Tommy Tuberville. I know it's Tuberville, but I pronounce it Tuberville because I like Potato Town. It just it suits him. So Tommy Potato Town claims that he has been talking with a lot of scientists, and they all say that man-made climate change isn't real, which says that he wasn't actually talking to climate scientists. But Alan Tudyk reposted that, saying, I've been talking with a lot of biologists, and all say that Tommy Tuberville is fake. He's just a pig bladder full of old jockstraps and farts masquerading as a United States senator. Fucking love Alan Tudyk.
That's actually accurate. I mean...
Yeah. I have no notes. Perfect. I am a leaf on the wind.
I am so fucking embarrassed by Tommy Tub of Shit. I mean, I really am. I mean, he's a former coach, and he should have stayed a former coach. Like, he's a former coach that decided to teach science, but he decides, oh, I'm going to put my own spin on this shit.
Oh, wait. Is that your senator?
I believe so.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
Hold on, let me check. Is Tub of Shit our senator, or is he a senator
Potato
in
Town?
another
Come
area?
on. Potato Town. Address him by his proper name.
What do you mean in another area?
Well, I just didn't know if Tub of Shit represented us.
Senators for the whole state.
Whole state, okay. Our 4 areas. Got it. Right.
Yeah.
So yes, he's our Tub of Shit. Sorry, Potato Town.
He's our Potato Town. I just wanted to point out that Alan Tudyk is great. And I watched Rogue One not too long ago, and K2SO is one of the best parts of that movie.
Yeah.
He's only got like 15 lines in the whole thing, but everyone is a gem.
It is, yeah. I loved him in that, and I mean, pretty much everything Alan Tudyk has done. Oh, especially Resident Alien. Resident Alien, he's pretty good in that.
He fucking nailed it as Hey Hey the Chicken in Moana. That was him. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, my kids call that chicken Hey Hey 2SO, because K2SO is the robot he plays in Rogue One.
I gotcha.
All right. Anyway, okay, Naked Mole Rat. This is a person who followed me on Twitter for years, so I was a little bit disappointed at this. But like, I posted a silly reversal of Romans 1:18 through 20, where it's like, you know how they're all like, oh, you guys are atheists just because you want to deny the truth in your unrighteousness because you just want to sin. And I posted a silly little reversal of that, where it's like, Christians are actually more moral than the God that they claim to worship, but they just deny that truth in their righteousness. And I thought that was moderately clever. Worth posting on Twitter, at least. Like it made its way into one of my videos. I'm like, that was clever enough. I'll post it on Twitter. Like I'm not fucking Keats or anything with my wordplay, but like, yeah, no, I'll post that. And then this person took that as like, oh, well, you said that church people are moral, but like the church, like the Catholic Church especially, endorses kid fucking, essentially. I'm like, yeah, no, kid fucking's still bad. But they were like, look, if you want to support the church that enabled and protected pedophiles for decades, that's on you. But in my opinion, it's disgusting and evil as you can get. But hey, you do you. And then they blocked me. I'm like, I'm on the same side as you here, brah. Like, yeah, the church is fucking evil. That's kind of my point with the whole, you are more moral than this thing you claim to worship, which is a thing that the church has described to you. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed at that because Naked Moral Rat, as like I've interacted with them quite a bit, but it's like, you're really going to block me over this? Like that I didn't like my original post didn't even have anything to do with this. And like, I agree with you. Catholic Church fucking sucks.
Yeah. I've,
But some people are just looking for something to be angry about.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been blocked by people on Twitter for, just basic shit. So I totally understand being disappointed by that.
Yeah. So Naked Mole Rat, if by any chance you're still watching this, like, we're on the same side, man. I agree. The Catholic Church fucking sucks. I just think that like the general population is better than the church that they attend. And Fennec is saying Matt Walsh is Catholic, pretty sure. Yes, Matt Walsh is Catholic, and we'll get to him. I got some Matt Walsh coming up.
He seems like a trad cath.
Yeah. Might be next, actually. Yeah, okay, so Matt Walsh. First thing we're going to do, I would like to play the video that contained his joke.
Okay.
So let's listen to this.
But, of course, 97% of us are buying the Valentine's Day gift on the way home from work on February 14th. But buying a Valentine's Day gift for your wife a month early is the gayest thing you could do. Don't do that, because if it's January 3rd and you tell your wife, I got you Valentine's Day gift already, she's going to say, so you're gay. Well, that kind of ruins Valentine's Day, doesn't it?
So Matt Walsh, like that whole thing. So I don't want to get into the whole like, is it gay to buy your wife a present early? Like, no, obviously fucking not. Like, loving your wife is not gay. Like, it's just a fact. Loving your wife, not a gay thing. But like, did that sound like a joke to you?
I mean, no, I mean, he sounded like he was being serious about it. And
like towards the end, so towards the end, I can admit that there was a bit of humor towards the end where it could be like, if your wife finds out you're gay on Valentine's Day, that's going to ruin Valentine's Day. Like, that's a little bit amusing. I could see how someone could find that funny. But like, the rest of that sounded entirely serious. And so now I have, we can go through this pretty quickly. So Dana Loesch says, I would think that a bitchy man is the gayest of the gay. He retweeted that saying, Dana, do you not realize that Media Matters is taking an obvious joke and pretending I was serious? Or are you pretending you don't realize that? You're pretending you don't realize that. I understand why the humorless left jumps on a Media Matters dog pile, but not sure why you're joining in. It's like, that didn't sound like a joke. That was not an obvious joke. That sounded like you legitimately think people who buy Valentine's Day gifts early are gay. Like, the joke came from, if your wife finds out you're gay on Valentine's Day, that'll ruin Valentine's Day. That was the only thing that even approached humor in there. The rest of it sounded entirely serious.
Yeah, I mean, This really does sound like a situation where he made a risky statement, and he's getting pushback, or he's getting poorly represented, or whatever, which is just accurately representing him, I guess. And now he's like, it was just a joke, guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
So that's the next 4 tweets. This is him. So he says, is this really because of my joke about Valentine's Day? The bar to trend on this site is way too low at this point. Do better, everyone, because he was trending. Then he's like, folks, calm down. Yes, I said it's gay to buy your wife a Valentine's Day gift more than 3 days ahead of time, but the good news is you can buy an anniversary gift up to 6 days ahead of time without becoming a homosexual. I can see how that is a joke. It's not a funny joke, but I can see that the elements of a joke are there. The science settled on this. Like, okay, not very funny, but I can see how this tweet is a joke. I don't find it funny, but if somebody finds this kind of humor funny, I could see how you could consider this one a joke. The original thing, that wasn't a joke. That was him talking seriously. Then he says, serious question, when Media Matters takes a clip of me obviously joking around about something and posts it like it was meant to be serious analysis, are the rest of you pretending to not understand that it's a joke, or have you actually sincerely been fooled by Media Matters? So this gets into the territory of like a joke is no longer funny if you have to explain the joke. He's gone past that and has to explain he doesn't just have to explain the joke. He has to explain that there was a joke. Like, if your joke is so bad that people can't tell you were joking, it's not a good joke. It might not even be a joke. It might have been you being serious and then got backlash and are now like, I'm going to pretend like it was a joke in order to avoid the backlash.
It's a joke, guys.
Come on. A joke.
I mean,
yeah.
Damn.
Like, this guy's a fucking idiot. Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, does he think what he said there was funny? Like, I mean, it's funny in the sense that, like, you think loving your wife is gay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's funny.
I mean, this totally sounds like it's coming from a guy who thinks that, showing emotion, showing love, and showing appreciation and all that it is like some kind of effeminate thing, right?
No, you know what it is? I just connected it. You remember how earlier I said that, like, my dad had all these books and I knew where the clit was before I knew why I would want to know where the clit was? Matt Walsh is the opposite of that, where he never found out where the clit was and is like, I never found out where it was and I don't know why I would want to know that. And he just stayed that way. And so now he has to pretend that providing good things for a woman is a joke.
Oh, if you ever really want to feel better about like yourself in general, what's that one group on TikTok, hun? It's Roe versus Bro. Have you seen those?
I have not, no. That sounds amazing.
Roe
versus Bro?
Yeah, it's Roe v. Bro. Basically, it's a group of women. They go and they interview guys on the street about common women's anatomy. Oh, right.
You know what? I probably have seen these. This sounds familiar.
Yeah, and like I watched it with KC, and I didn't get every single answer exactly correct. Like there was a couple where I was just a little off, but I was way more correct than the people that they were interviewing.
Yeah, no, some of them are just like, oh my God, man, just shut your mouth. Just shut your mouth. You're just going to make it worse for yourself. Don't even try to explain.
Yeah, and I feel like Matt Walsh would be one of those guys that just like doesn't know anything about like women's anatomy or anything like that. And it would just be hilarious. But anyways, made me think of that.
Fennec says I had to give an X an anatomy lesson / vulva tutorial. Yeah, like a lot of guys don't even know that there's a difference between a vulva and a vagina. Like there is. Those are not the same thing.
That was one of the questions the women asked them.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, 100%. Anyway, back to Frank Turek. Says, there's no moral obligation to obey the law of gravity, but you might have a moral obligation to persons. If there's no ultimate personal being, then there's no moral obligation to do anything. What the fuck does the law of gravity have to do with this?
I don't know.
Like, do you even have a choice whether or not to obey the law of gravity? Moral obligation or no?
No, I don't understand. Like, this seems just like a non sequitur. Like, the shit's just not connecting for me.
It's not. No, it doesn't make any sense. I'm just like, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Like, and if there's no ultimate personal being, then there's no moral obligation to do anything. It's like, do you not have empathy? Like, if you don't have empathy, that is a condition that can be treated. That, like, psychopathy and sociopathy, which are the same thing on, like, different spectrum. Like, it's a spectrum. I don't know. Like, sociopathy and psychopathy used to be considered two separate things, but now they're considered like one, like, different aspects of the same thing.
Yeah.
And like, if you honestly don't feel empathy for people, that is something that can be treated. But, like, don't try and claim that God is the solution there.
No, but I mean, like, I feel like whenever he's talking about moral obligation, in my mind, I always add like absolute or transcendental, because that's what he's really talking about. Like, some kind of absolute moral obligation or transcendental moral obligation.
It's like, as an atheist, I'm just like, this is the only life that I know for a fact that I get. This is also the only life that all the people around me, I know for a fact that I get. So I want to make their lives as good as possible. I want to make my life as good as possible. And I want to make everybody else's life as good as possible, because I understand, like, if this is the only life you get and your life fucking sucks, that's a bad thing.
Well, and I mean, I feel like apologists like Frank Turek, Christians like Frank Turek, they can't really grasp the idea of, like, I guess, subjective moral obligation, because, like, everybody has things that they feel morally obligated about, right? Yeah. And that's not going to be the same. Like, my moral obligations aren't going to be the same as somebody else's that lives in a different culture or a different time period.
You guys had people get mad at you when you, like, donated peanut butter to victims of an earthquake in Haiti or whatever. Like, because it's peanut butter and peanut butter's not the healthiest thing you could possibly do. Like, okay, no, peanut butter's not fucking the healthiest thing you could possibly do, but if you're fucking hungry, it's got protein, bitch.
Well, yeah, so it was orphans in Haiti, and the reason why they focused on peanut butter was because they had, like, they normally went hungry, and so they had these small stomachs, and so to deliver, like, the amount of protein that they would need in a small amount, peanut butter is a perfect thing.
It's cheap fucking protein that they fucking need to live.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, "Oh, it's not the healthiest thing you could have done." We're like, yeah, no, but, like, dollars per kid helped. It's gonna get like a better bang for the buck than something that is maybe a little bit healthier. But, like, people still found things to complain about with that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, no, we're trying, we're doing our best to make people's lives better. And we want to affect as many people as possible. Peanut butter's fucking cheap when it comes to that. So yeah. But, like, yeah, no, like, and it's like, there's no personal being, then there's no moral obligation to do anything. It's like, no, I have empathy. I feel bad for people that are in bad situations that I can empathize with. Even if, like, I don't have to have been in that bad situation myself in order to understand the empathy there. Like, I can picture myself in that situation and be like, no, that would fucking suck. So I'm going to do what I can to help as many people as I possibly can.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, of course, this is coming from the guy who recently put up a video basically making the case that unless you believe in God or unless God exists, then graping somebody's okay. Like, you know,
well, and that's the thing. Like, these fucking apologists, they always appeal to God as being the standard of morality. But then when we are like, hey, well, how come genocide was okay? They immediately go to secular morality to justify God's actions. They'll be like, oh, the Canaanites were actually bad people who were sacrificing their children to Baal. Be like, okay, how does that justify killing the children that they were going to kill anyway?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
They were killing them for Yahweh, and that makes it okay. And then you'll, you know, with the whole graping issue, the Bible has a lot of different instances where God has condoned and even prescribed raping women, so I mean, it's ridiculous. But this is the kind of mindset that we're talking about here with Frank Turek.
Well, Frank is one of the people in my genocide montage where he's like, he didn't have arbitrary reasons for wanting the Canaanites dead. They were sacrificing their children to Molech. I'm like, why would that matter? It's God's command. If you get your morality from God, it doesn't matter what they were doing. It's from God. That's why it's right. But the fact that you are justifying it by appealing to the fact that they were doing heinous, immoral actions means that you don't get your morality from God. You get your morality from empathy.
Yeah, which I like. My response to that is something you just said a second ago, and that's that. Oh, okay. So instead of allowing them to sacrifice the children to Baal, you're going to go in and kill the kids for Yahweh.
Yeah.
So the real problem here is that they weren't sacrificing children to Yahweh. That seems to be the big problem.
I mean, and like Judges chapter 11, Yahweh took human sacrifices. You can't say that people didn't sacrifice their kids to Yahweh because Jephthah sacrificed his daughter to Yahweh. And it wasn't like like when Jacob was sacrificing Isaac. It wasn't that where God stepped in and was like, nope. I was just testing you. You've passed the test, so you don't need to actually kill your kid. Nope. He actually sacrificed his daughter.
Yeah, and then also God had the Holy Spirit or whoever in the fuck kill all the firstborn children of Egypt.
Yeah.
Not necessarily as a sacrifice, but I guess you could make an argument that it was sacrificial.
Stoff says, screw God, I have tentacles. And then Axo says, Stoff, wording. So, yeah. Young Earth Creationist, YEC is Science, says, Scripture is 66 books that does not hold any contradictions. Have you read them? Like, there's literally spots where it's like, in one book it says that such and such king had this many men in his army, and then in another book describing the exact same event, it'll be the same king and everything, but it's like, but he has 1/10 of the people in his army. Like, that's undeniably a contradiction. Like, you can say that they messed up the number, they made a mistake with the number or whatever, but it's still a contradiction. No matter how you harmonize it, it's a contradiction. Also, pi equals exactly 3.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different contradictions in the gospel stories themselves, which I think it's...
I'm going to leave this one to you. I have to pee because too many people have been redeeming hydrates.
All right. The contradictions in the Gospels, a lot of apologists want to try to make it out to be like, oh, this is just the same story told from 4 different perspectives. And I've said this a few times on my channel, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, because when you read the Gospels, if you were to compare this like in level of absurdity with some kind of like small anecdotal thing, what really happened in my little anecdotal analogy here is that, a dude came up to another guy and shot him with a gun on the street, right? That's what actually happened. Well, what do these 4 accounts say? Well, this first guy says that, oh, he just came out here after hearing a couple gunshots and there was a body on the ground. Right. And then the next guy's like, oh, well, that's not what happened at all. I saw an angel descend down from the heavens, slap the gun out of the guy's hand, and then totally fucked that other guy up with a lightning bolt shot out of his dick. And then he was like, we have all risen, and then went back up into the heavens, and the guy's dead on the ground. And then the next guy, the Luke guy, would be like, oh, well, that's not what happened. It was actually 2 angels, and they just sort of appeared there, and they shot lightning out of both of their dicks and killed the guy, and then that was it. And then there's John, who's got I can't remember if John has 2 angels in it or not, but you get my point. Is like, these are all different accounts, right? Like these are all incredibly different accounts, and to say that they're just from 4 different perspectives, you're just lying about what the accounts say. Like, we can read what the accounts say. Like, even if you want to go back to like a Greek interlinear text and read, the translation from Greek, what the text actually says, we can read what the text says, and they are different things. Of course, my thing earlier was about, obviously the finding of the empty tomb. That's one way. That's just one particular instance in how they're completely different and not just 4 different perspectives of the same event.
Mm-hmm. Did you get into the death of Judas yet?
Oh no, I didn't even go that far.
Yeah, no, because the harmonizations on that one are hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in one thing it says he hanged himself. In the other one it says he fell in the field and his bowels burst out.
Is that technically a hat?
I'm calling it a hat.
Okay.
This is my hat. Yeah, so like in Acts, it has him falling headlong and his guts spill out. And in I forget which one of the Gospels it is, it says he hanged himself. And so the harmonization is that like his dead body was like hanging there long enough to get bloated, and then when it falls, it exploded when it hit the rocks.
Yeah, I like Papias's recounting of how Judas died, though. Do you recall that one?
No, I don't. Not off the top of my head.
Well, so Papias, later Christian church father, he said that apparently Judas got so bloated that he grew to the width of a street, and then he also had like maggots that were crawling in and out of his dick, and
Lovely.
he eventually exploded.
So Steve Weber, I apologize. I didn't mean to delete your thing in the chat, but in my little thing where I highlight chats, it every time I click on it, it like right clicks. And so if I accidentally click on something else, it'll sometimes like your message just got deleted. I've accidentally blocked people from my channel before. So my apologies for that, but you got off light. Yeah, no, there's lots of contradictions. Yeah, this beard's coming off because I still got beer to drink, and I can't drink through that ridiculous mustache. Charles Haywood says, he's retweeting Mary Margaret something, who says, interesting moment from last night. DeSantis calls out Haley for her references to the false left-wing narrative that pro-lifers want to put women in prison. So this is a conservative saying like, no, pro-life people don't want to actually imprison women for getting abortions. And then Charles Haywood proves Nikki Haley's point by saying it is trivially obvious that any woman who procures an abortion should be criminally punished. Motive is taken into account for degree and sentence, as with any crime, but many abortions should be charged as murder. Performing abortions should be usually a capital crime. So he's calling for the women who get abortions to be imprisoned and the doctors who perform the abortions to be executed. And this was in response to someone who's saying that that's not something that people actually say.
So,
and then he's like, hold my beer. Watch as I actually say this.
I'm going to literally prove their point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's completely ridiculous. Frank Turek again says, since God by definition is the standard of goodness, any deviation from that standard would be what we call evil. Okay, Frank, why then do you feel the need to appeal to the bad behavior of the Canaanites when justifying the Canaanite genocide instead of just saying it's what God said?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why does it matter whether they sacrifice their kids on the molten hot god Molech if God's will is good by definition? You should just say it's God's will and leave it at that. No justification required.
Yeah, I feel like this also inadvertently divorces this sense of like goodness or evil from morality, because Like it's no longer like what is moral and immoral, right? Any kind of distinction that can be made there, because the only distinction that's made is whether or not God approves of it.
Mhm.
So that doesn't have anything to do with morality.
Yeah.
Other than Frank just
Well,
defines God as a
it's
morally good
divine
thing.
command theory. Whatever God commands is moral by definition. So when God commands genocide, that's moral because God commanded it.
Right. Well,
But,
and I mean,
but
I
even
think-
even Frank doesn't believe himself when he says this because, as I pointed out, he appeals to secular morality by saying, well, the Canaanites were bad people, though. It's like, that shouldn't matter. It was God's divine command that they wipe out the Canaanites. Doesn't matter why. God's commands are moral.
Mhm.
Like, if you feel the need to say, well, the Canaanites were actually doing really heinous actions that required intervention to stop them, well, then that's something that's beyond God. Because, like, that's empathy. That's human well-being as the standard of morality. That is not God as the standard of morality.
Right.
But Frank doesn't seem capable of understanding that. You know, there was a time in my channel where I was actually avoiding Frank Turek stuff because everybody was telling me what a great apologist he was, that I'm like, ooh, I need to wait until I'm a better counter-apologist before I deal with the heavy hitters like Frank Turek. And then my first Turek video, I was like, really? This is the guy that they've been saying this whole time is amazing? He's such a fucking idiot. And it was just...
And there's so many Frank Turek clones out there. I can immediately tell whenever an apologist just has taken notes from a Frank Turek video, because Frank Turek has certain phrases that he says all the time. And if that pops up, Frank Turek clone.
Yeah. My favorite is epigenetics is the structure of the cell. I'm like, that's not what epigenetics is, Frank. It's not even close to what epigenetics is. Come on, man. Do better.
Yeah, that totally confused me.
Yeah, no. So for those of you who don't follow the biological terms, epigenetics is basically, so your genes define what proteins get made. Like your cells read the genetic information and they're like, okay, well, from this genetic sequence, we make this protein. Epigenetics are changes to like the chemical environment within the cell that changes the way certain sequences of DNA are read. So it can change and make a different protein, but it's like, it's a change to the DNA that doesn't change the actual sequence of DNA. It'll just change how that sequence is read. And he says that that is the structure of the cell, but no, the structure of the cell is proteins, which if there are no epigenetic factors, it's just whatever proteins just straight up are coded for by the DNA. So it's like proteins are the structure of the cell. Epigenetics are completely different from that.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the expression of genes, not the actual like resulting proteins. Oh, I think that might have been, yeah, that's the last tweet. So, yeah, we finished later than we normally finish, but before the time that I told you we were going to finish. So there we go.
Awesome. This has been fun.
Yeah, Twit Tweets is always a bit of fun. So Circe and I are actually in the process of working out a collaboration where we might do something with Apologia. He's got an Eric Hovind thing that we might respond to, as it may be a Twit Tweets replacement thing for that week, or it may be its own standalone thing. I'm not sure. We're still kind of working on that, and it's going to depend on whether or not I can actually like keep up with my video schedule. So we'll see. But yeah, we got some fun stuff coming up, and thank you so much for joining me, John.
Thank you for having me. I always love coming on to Twit Tweets. So, yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So as always, oh, God damn it. What is that phrase that I was going to like? I used to say as always, fuck off, but there was another thing that's okay. My partner always remembers it. I just heard it coming from the other room. So as always, God help you, because I sure can't.